Some days don't end when night comes. They just keep playing over and over. Imola 1994 wasn't just any race. It is a deep wound in the heart of motorsport. But how could something like that happen in just 24 hours? This is a close look at the day that changed racing forever, straight from the eyes of the main protagonist. Qualifying's been red flagged for a few minutes now. Roland Ratzenberger, a 33-year-old driver from Austria, has just had a massive crash. After seeing the crash on the garage screen, three-time world champ Ayrton Senna can't hold it in. Ratzenberger's accident looks really bad. Senna then jumps into a safety car and heads straight to the crash site at Tamburello Corner. Arriving just moments after Ratzenberger was rushed to the hospital, the car sits there, twisted, lifeless. It's a chilling scene. Back in the pits, Senna goes straight to Professor Sid Watkins, head of the FIA medical team, and someone he genuinely considers a friend. He's hoping for any kind of good news, but Watkins can only give him the worst news.
The San Marino Grand Prix organiser has received a report from the Maggiore Hospital in Bologna. Roland Ratzenberger succumbed to injuries sustained in the accident which took place at Imola circuit during Saturday qualifying practice, April the 30th.
It was only his third weekend in F1, a kind soul, full of potential. The news shakes the entire paddock.
It was the first time that we have to face a dead Formula 1 driver for our generation. The whole atmosphere was very heavy that afternoon. Everybody was thinking about what are we doing here, or what's the point, you know?
It's the first fatality in F1 since Riccardo Paletti at the 1982 Canadian GP.
Pironi's in trouble, Pironi hasn't moved, the rest of the field goes, the two Renaults getting away.
The impact had killed him. He died.
Ayrton can't believe it. He was already shaken the day before after this terrifying crash young Barrichello had, slamming into the barriers at over 140 miles per hour. To Ayrton, Rubens is his heir, the next great Brazilian driver. The crash hit him hard, like it had been his own.
You gotta have good awareness of the danger you are, because otherwise you will inevitably find a bad day.
And he was the first one to show up at the hospital to check on him.
You've seen Rubens?
He's alright. He's alright. He's shocked, of course, but he's alright.
You don't
So, yes.
Fortunately, it turned out Barrichello only had a small fracture in his nose and a dislocated rib, which honestly felt like a miracle considering how brutal the crash looked. But it left everyone feeling uneasy. Ratzenberger's tragedy has only made things worse, and Senna's completely shattered. Seeing how shaken he is, Watkins asks him why doesn't he just retire from tomorrow's race, or even from the sport altogether.
Ayrton got very upset and cried a bit. And that's when I said to him, you know, Ayrton, You've been 3 times world champion, you're the fastest man in the world, and you like fishing. So I said, why don't you quit? And I'll quit, and we just go fishing. He said, Sid, I can't quit.
When qualifying resumes, he doesn't even go back out on track. His earlier time still holds up, and he ends up on pole. Still, he doesn't show up for the pole position winner's press conference, nor does Schumacher, who finished P2. Only Gerhard Berger, who came third, attends. Ayrton's not thinking about racing anymore. Senna is called for a meeting with the race stewards, led by race director John Korsmet, who wants to reprimand him for taking an official car to Ratzenberger's crash site. Given the tragic situation and how emotional Senna seems, Korsmet decides not to take any further action.
Ele diz uma frase, você não conhece eles, o show tem que continuar.
O show tem que continuar. Eu acho que o Ayrton tinha a consciência disso e acho que todos os pilotos de Fórmula 1 em geral têm a consciência de que, infelizmente, o dinheiro fala mais alto e que a própria circunstância da história fala muito mais alto do que a vida humana.
For Ayrton, Ratzenberger's crash has been devastating. He sees himself as the guardian of the close-knit F1 driver community, and he's taken it personally. Back at the end of '93, he'd already made plans for an independent safety commission, but put them on hold because of the two-race suspension hanging over him. The Brazilian had been one of the harshest critics for the FIA's changes for '94.
The Williams suspension system is brilliant. It's really, really clever, the thing it does. But in the end, even Frank's effort becomes self-defeating because they will then win by such a huge margin that no one would want to watch him. The decision has to be to stop.
The International Motorsports Federation has banned some of the controversial computer devices which help drivers in Formula One motor racing. The ban is designed to stop the domination of the richest Formula One teams like Williams-Renault, the world champions.
Os carros, como eu já disse antes, vão de imediato são um pouco mais instáveis. Então ali a gente talvez veja mais carros rodando, mais emoção para o público. Para a gente até o ponto que não acontece nada. Quando acontece alguma coisa, não é muito confortável.
The whole idea behind these changes? Make the cars harder to drive and the racing more exciting and unpredictable. And yeah, the cars did get harder to handle, but they weren't any slower. They were still flying at crazy speeds, but now they were way twitchier, sliding around more, and harder to control. Basically, a recipe for high-speed crashes, just like what's happening at Imola, which is reigniting that fire inside Senna to push his safety mission again. Senna has to fulfill his obligations with the team and the press all afternoon, but he can't get what just happened out of his head after 2 DNFs in the first 2 races of the season with his new team, Williams.
No, he didn't. He was hit by Mika Häkkinen.
He came to Imola hungry to win and restore some credibility. He's the best driver, and now he's in the best team, and the pressure to win is through the roof. But the car has turned out to be incredibly tricky and hard to handle. Imola is going to be a key race to stay in the championship fight and take on Schumacher's Benetton, the big favourite after 2 wins. Gone are his dominant days with McLaren, and now in a new team and environment, Senna has to prove himself all over again. But right now, none of that matters anymore. After finishing up his track commitments, Ayrton heads back to the Hotel Castello, about 20 minutes from the circuit. The place he usually stays with his small team when he races here. When he arrives, he spots a couple celebrating their wedding in the hotel restaurant. They ask for a photo, and Ayrton happily agrees, wishing them all the best. Then he heads up to Suite 200, the room he usually stays in, to drop off all his stuff. A bit later, he heads up to Trattoria Ramangola with some friends and journalists to celebrate his physiotherapist Joseph Leverer's birthday. After getting a message from Frank Williams, he goes to see him in his room. By then, Senna seems a bit more at peace and tells Frank he's ready to race tomorrow. Around midnight, he goes to bed, with his head full of thoughts that won't let him sleep well. Senna wakes up and grabs his stuff at the hotel, and then goes with Armani by helicopter to the circuit for the warm-up session that usually takes place before the race. During the session, Senna films an in-car lap with commentary for the French broadcaster TF1, hosted by his old rival, Alain Prost.
A special hello to our dear friend Alain in France. We all miss you, Alain.
Senna finishes P1 in this session and tells his engineer there's no need to change anything because he's happy with the handling. It looks like things are finally going well with his Williams after so many problems at the start of the season. The drivers get together for the usual Sunday morning race briefing, and Senna shows up with Berger. Everyone takes a minute of silence to remember Ratzenberger. After that, Senna brings up his worries about using the pace car during the warm-up lap. The pace car was used for the first time just 2 weeks earlier at the Pacific GP in Japan to keep the cars grouped before the start. Senna says it doesn't go fast enough to properly warm up the tyres. Everyone agrees, and they decide to drop the pace car for the formation lap. Senna's also worried that the safety car isn't fast enough either. During the meeting, Senna chats with some of the other drivers about holding another safety meeting when they all meet up again in Monaco. He, Schumacher and Berger have already agreed to explore bringing back the Grand Prix Drivers Association, which was dissolved in the early 80s and was originally created to discuss issues like these. After some team commitments, shuts himself away to gather his thoughts and find maximum focus, a routine he always follows.
You know, every time before I go into the car, I fear very much.
Ayrton feels all the pressure weighing down on his shoulders. It's gonna be a crucial race for the championship, half an hour to the start. Senna's restless and the people around him can tell. He really doesn't want to race, not because he thinks something bad is gonna happen. He's sure he's gonna win.
I know I have a well-built car, well-prepared. by the mechanics, everything,
but he just wants to get this tragic weekend over with and go home. His mind is miles away, but for now, it's time to race.
and I know I can die.
Lights out, and chaos kicks off almost right away. There's a big crash between Pedro Lami's Lotus and JJ Lesso's Benetton, which brings out the safety car, and the whole paddock is on edge. While they're clearing up the mess off the track, drivers are just cruising behind the safety car. Remember what Senna said about it? Yeah, this is exactly what he was worried about. Lap after lap, tires are getting colder, and the safety car's just not pushing the pace. You can feel the tension building big time. By lap 6, the race restarts, with Senna and Schumacher pulling away from Berger and Hill. It's clear the battle's going to be between those two. Even with a fully loaded car and cold tyres, Senna is flying, pulling a gap on Schumi. Both of them are going super fast. He hits the wall at around 130 miles per hour, pretty much head on, but at a slight angle. The impact rips off the right front wheel and the nose cone, and the car spins out before coming to a stop. Senna stays motionless in the cockpit. Is he okay? No one knows. 5 fire marshals rush to the scene right away, even before the medical team arrives. Then Watkins shows up in the medical car and confirms it's Senna who's crashed. Meanwhile, fear and confusion take over the paddock again. What the hell is going on this weekend? Senna is rushed to Maggiore Hospital by helicopter, while everyone waits anxiously for updates, even though no one's really thinking about it anymore. At 2:55 p.m, the race restarts. Schumacher ends up winning, followed by Larini and Häkkinen. With no news on how Senna is doing, there's nothing to celebrate.
Certainly no good feelings. I mean, just win the race, but I can't feel satisfied. Can't feel happy. I mean, what happened this weekend, never have seen something like this. Not just one thing, so many things.
While people wait through agonizing hours for news about Ayrton, we all know how this story ends.
Good evening. Ayrton Senna, 3 times world motor racing champion, has died after crashing during the San Marino Grand Prix.
The doctors couldn't do anything to save him. Ayrton Senna has passed away. The official time of death was 2:17 p.m, the moment his Williams hit the barriers. Formula One will never be the same. Bit by bit, more details started to come out. The medical team confirmed that a suspension rod from the car had gone through Senna's helmet visor, causing a fatal head injury. They found out that he had an Austrian flag with him, which he was planning to wave after the race to honor Ratzenberger. A whole investigation followed the crash, with the Italian authorities saying the cause was a faulty modification to the steering column made by Williams. They claimed that's what led to the accident. Williams argued it broke after the impact, not before. The case dragged on in court for years, but the team was eventually cleared. Other theories pointed to Senna losing grip because the tyres were still too cold after the safety car.
Even at racing speed, Tamburello is not a corner that you would make a mistake on. Something on the car would have to go wrong. Maybe the power steering failed. Maybe it was the tyre temperatures that made the car skate straight off the road.
The unfortunate reality is, we'll never know and we'll never get him back. Senna's death didn't just shake F1, it hit people all over the world. Back in Brazil, the government declared 3 days of national mourning and gave him a full state funeral. Over 1 million people showed up for the procession to his burial.
Brasileiro precisa de comida, educação e saúde, pouco de alegria. Alegria foi. Era ídolo para mim. Ele representava muito o Brasil.
O que o Ayrton queria alcançar na Fórmula 1?
Tinha alguns sonhos, sim. Ele tinha o Tetra, por exemplo, esse ano, o Penta, o ano que vem, com certeza, para igualar o Fangio, e encerrar a carreira dele na Ferrari, que era o maior sonho do Ayrton na Fórmula 1, poder um dia correr no vermelhinho. Ele sempre falava isso.
He wasn't just a racing driver, he was a hero, someone a lot of people looked up to. After everything that happened, his legend just kept growing. Even now, he's still seen as one of the biggest names in the sport, someone we can learn a lot from and who lives on in the hearts of fans everywhere.
Unfortunately, I've never had the chance to see him in real life, but my father was a huge fan of Ayrton and gave me the passion for him.
As he is in Brazil, is in my heart, it always has been. I've loved even though I never got to meet him.
I do wish kind of I had the chance to kind of really see what he was like.
I think for me, Senna is top of the F1 grades.
Retired champ Niki Lauda brought back the GPDA in Monaco as a tribute to Senna.
At the drivers' meeting of today, we agreed to form the Grand Prix Driver Association. It was agreed that the representatives of the GPDA will be Niki Lauda, Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger and Christian Fittipaldi.
And from there, a bunch of big changes kicked off that massively improved F1 safety throughout the decade. Track layouts were updated, barriers were reinforced, tyre walls added, stricter safety standards put in place, cockpits got higher sills, and engine sizes were capped at 3 litres. Just look at how different the cars and circuits looked barely 5 years later. It's night and day. There were no fatal accidents in F1 for over 20 years, until October 2014, when Jules Bianchi had a crash at the Japanese GP that sadly took his life months later. I made a video analysing it not too long ago. If you think you can handle another soul crusher, watch it here. And as always, thank you for watching.